France goes to the polls again this Sunday for the second and final round of its parliamentary election. President Emmanuel Macron is looking to shore up his position with a resounding victory after last week's contest saw a strong showing from the newly created left-wing alliance led by the former presidential candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Well, our international correspondent Anelise Borges has been following this story this week, and she joins me now from Paris. Annelise, what's at stake here, not just for France, but for Europe too?
Hi there, Tokes. Well, indeed, this election will either set a straight, smooth path or a road packed with obstacles for Emmanuel Macron when it comes to governing this country. His movement wants a majority in parliament. They want to be able to pass some of the ambitious reforms Emmanuel Macron wasn't able to deliver during his first term in office, including an ambitious and explosive reform of the pension system here in this country. They want more than 289 seats. That is the magic number. And if the latest polls are anything to go by, they are set to get anywhere between 255 to 295 seats. But what is significant here is that below the current mark, the current number of seats they hold in Parliament, now 345. So this is a weakened political movement, and they are faced with this alliance of left-wing parties led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon. A big surprise here in France when it comes to the presidential race. He emerged with 22% of the votes back then, solidifying his position as a formidable opponent to Emmanuel Macron. And he wants more. He wants to challenge Emmanuel Macron. He's been saying that he wants to force Emmanuel Macron to pick him as prime minister. This is a man who has very different views for France, a very different vision for Europe as well. And he could indeed pose quite a lot of problems on Emmanuel Macron's path and plans. He has already started doing that. He is actually leading a movement that is demanding a recount of the first round of the legislative elections. His movement is saying that authorities here in France failed to label some of the candidates correctly and therefore are placing them second.
Annelise, Emmanuel Macron hasn't really stopped campaigning since his re-election. Yesterday, of course, we covered extensively his trip to the Ukrainian capital. Some are accusing him of, continuing, or that was even a stunt, part of his charm offensive. Is that how his rivals are seeing it, and is that likely to play into the polls?
Well, it could, indeed. Emmanuel Macron is certainly attracting a lot of attention. On his way to Romania, there was a podium on the tarmac in front of the airplane from where Emmanuel Macron spoke for about a good 15 minutes about France and about the importance of not adding chaos to the world. He basically said it was either him and a majority in government or chaos in France. The question is, will this be enough to convince French voters to actually go out and vote on Sunday? What we saw in the first round was the lowest ever turnout in parliamentary elections in the history of the Fifth Republic here in this country, with only 47% of registered voters showing up at the ballot box. Tokes.